Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of Teach, Sleep, Repeat. My name is Dylan.
And my name's Hayden.
And we're back again with your questions, listener questions. We've put out another post on our Instagram, so go and follow us at Teach, Sleep, Repeat Podcast, because that's where we harvest all of your listener questions, whether they're really deep and meaningful and thoughtful or completely bonkers. Let's go through them, Hayden. We're going to start off with this one. What has been the best thing you have ever learned from your time in teaching?
Oh, we're going deep again. Straight into the deep ones.
Straight into the deep one.
That's a really good question. The best thing I've ever learned in my experience as a teacher, well, there's a lot of things I've learned.
Well, you've been teaching for, like, as you like to tell me, a decade, so 10 years. If you just reflect on that, so you're done now, you're not in the classroom, you taught for 10 years, what do you think? You look back, you think, that's the best thing I've learned.
I think it's got to be to do with the children. So I'm not going to go in straight with here's like a pedagogy tip that you can do.
Bloom's taxonomy.
Yeah, you're looking at me as if like, oh, that's mine. Are we going to say the same thing here?
No, well, I was going to say the zone of proximal development, actually.
Yes, I think
I wasn't.
all children should be in the ZPD, the way they're comfortable learning. I think for me, it's just like, I was very nervous at the start of my career. So here's the context of this. I was a very anxious person. I felt like everyone was out to get me and I had to do everything right. Otherwise the kids would hate me. And everyone was on my wavelength is what I was thinking. Like, we're all here because we all think this is the most important thing. And I realized over time that we all have very different priorities. And with the children, the best thing I learned in terms of maximizing their learning and their progress was to make it fun, to make it a positive place to be. I know that sounds really stupid. Of course, you're going to make it a positive place to be. But I had previously in my head, the best thing I need to do is I need to apply all these pedagogies because children learn best if I do this thing in maths. No, children learn best when they want to be in your classroom. When someone said to me, just don't worry, because I wrote that. I remember I had an observation once and I wrote this lesson plan. It was like 4 pages long. And they were like, you don't need to do this. And I was like, no, because I'm going to prove to you all these things that I'm doing. And actually, this is how the children are going to learn this thing because I've got this Bloom's taxonomy. And they're like, yeah, you don't need to do this. What you need to do is just make your environment like a really nice place for the kids to be, so to foster learning. And it felt so obvious, but I was like, well, yeah, of course. And from then I was like, no, everything I do, the absolute heart of everything I ever do is, will the children smile when they come into the classroom because of their previous experiences with me? Will they smile when they leave this classroom because I've made sure that they've had an enjoyable time? And I don't know, maybe that's a really basic thing, but it took me a bit of time to really put that at the heart of everything.
Do you think that's applicable in wider life in general? Like, as something you've learned, as if to get the best out of the children at your school and how they react to you and what's important in life, essentially. Do you find yourself applying this to other things now where you think to yourself, you know what, my main goal actually, no matter who you are, is that you feel a sense of belonging, enjoying yourself to get the best out of people, or is it very specific to school?
I think it started very specific to school, but I would say passively, I apply it to wider life. Like, even, you know, obviously with our tutoring company, even with our tutors, I'm always thinking, just as adults, not children in this case, what can I do to make their lives better? What can I do to make sure they're happy and that, you know, that they're smiling and they enjoy working for us? Like, even the other day, I had one of our tutors message me and they'd made a mistake on something. And they were really, really panicking about this. And I can imagine some people's gut reaction would be like, oh, yeah, that's awful. Actually, that's really dreadful. You need to do this, this, and this to rectify this. You know, classic like boss syndrome. And I was like, no, that's just not remotely helpful. Like, why would that be helpful in any way? They made a mistake. And my response was, oh, I've done that before. I've made that exact mistake, and this is how I got over it, and it wasn't so bad in the end. Don't worry about it. We'll just deal with it this way. And they literally replied, being like, oh, thank you for reassuring me. That's genuinely their response. And I was like, oh, yeah, okay. It is just good to be nice to people and make people feel happy and welcome. I think you get the best out of people in every situation, from children to adults to whatever it is. I don't know about you. Do you think the same, by the way, on my point before I ask you?
No,
yours?
I agree with what you're saying completely. I think it's important. I think that's part of what I got from out of teaching was that, you know, I want to make every day enjoyable for them. And I don't mean fun. I'm not saying every single lesson in the world needs to be fun all the time.
Yeah.
I think you can really misconstrue what we're saying here, because you don't have to be all singing, all dancing. If you walked into my classroom, there would be times where we have extended periods of silence. We're working hard. But in general, as a vibe, the children want to be there. How do I get them working hard in the first place? Because they want to be in the room. They're enjoying it. They want to show off. They feel confident. They don't mind making a mistake. That anxiety is lessened. They get more out. You get more out of them.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's like one or the other. I think it's both. And I just think you can also not have that as your main goal and priority, or you might, as a teacher, genuinely not feel as confident being fun or engaging, etc. But I still think you can be a good teacher. I think this is a very personal question, and in that case, I completely agree.
When I have those interactions with parents at the end of the year, and you get those lovely parents who will really take the time to talk to you and give you some feedback or whatever, whether it's in a card or when they talk to you in person, and when you get that feedback, that's along the lines of, my child was really nervous or some other sort of negative emotion at the start of the year, and they've loved coming to your class and you've really brought them out of their shell. Those kind of conversations, to me, I'm like, oh, they're the absolute like golden winners. The stuff where parents are like, oh, they're much better at maths now. I'm like, cool, it's
good.
Then the basics of my job. Do you know what? That's
exactly.
at the start of my job, that was it. That was all it was.
Yeah.
And I learned to really, really put on a pedestal the more holistic side of developing children and making sure they're there all the time. So like we really should be prioritizing, should we make their lives enjoyable where they're spending like 80% of it?
Absolutely.
Probably. Let's do that.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's my thing. I think it's shaped me as a teacher definitely over the years. What about you? What's the best experience you've
not best experience, like, but the best thing I've learned.
Yeah,
like
in your
the thing. If I look at myself when I started teaching to now, having taught for nearly 10 years, I would say the best thing I've learned is about children in general. It's all to do with the children. Obviously, it's the most important thing in the world, I think, when it comes to your teaching job. It's not to underestimate them. It's to understand and get children way more than I did beforehand, because I definitely started my career. I didn't even think of. I thought, oh, they don't know what they're talking about. They're just little kids. Well, yeah, just going to teach them some maths. I'm just going to go in. I'm just going to teach them what perimeter is. It's going to be all good. We're going to go through this and that, and they're just kids at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But I've learned so much, like genuine emotional intelligence from children, resilience. The amount of children I come across over my time teaching, where I thought, you're more resilient than most adults I know, because I know your home life and I know your situation, and you can brush things off and you can work hard and you can get on and you can make friends and you can control your emotions, and they're like little sponges. They really take everything in. And that's the number one thing I've learned, is to basically never underestimate a child. Never just think, oh, they're just kids. What are they going to do? What are they going to know about? It's the classic thing online when you maybe see a story of what a 7-year-old did or an 8-year-old did, and the classic person who has no idea what they're talking goes, that would never happen. Why are you making things up? And I sit there sometimes and think, I've had these conversations with 8-year-olds.
Yeah.
8-year-olds are like that. You don't understand unless you work with them. Like you said, 40 hours a week, you're in school constantly with these children. They're bloody amazing people. And I think I always remember my tutor at school, at university, who was the person kind of liaised with the whole year when I was learning the academic side. She was a maths specialist, and I love maths, and I was a maths specialist. I don't know about you. I don't know if you remember being a maths specialist. I don't know. I don't remember.
In essence.
I don't think you did, but I did. And I remember at the end of the year when we reflected on my PGCE, because I did my PGCE, and she asked this question. I think I've mentioned this before. She asked a very simple question that was so loaded and made me feel so good, but I felt confident answering it. And it was, what do you think has made your training year so successful?
Okay, yeah.
So it was preempted with the fact it was successful, which was nice for me to hear from her.
Yeah.
But also she was genuinely asking me, and I felt the same thing, where she wasn't just thinking, oh, this is just a student. This is just a guy who's trained for a year. She was genuinely thinking, what has made it successful? Because she valued my opinion on something. And again, my answer linked the chain down from that, where I said, I think it was successful because I really just respected the children as individuals.
Yeah.
I didn't think of them as homogenous blob who just just sit there and I've just got to teach to this blob.
Yeah.
Every child's an individual. Every child's interesting. Every child has interests and wants and needs and desires. And yeah, that's what unlocked for me. After my career of being a primary school teacher, I became so much more hyper aware of everyone in the whole world has a different background, a different motive, a different love, a different desire, a different want, a different need, and a different way of reacting to the world.
Yeah.
I became way more hyper aware of that, and I do apply that now way more to everyone in general.
Yeah, just not underestimating people.
Yeah, completely. Not underestimating them, and just understanding that just because I'm not in a situation, or I'm not in a place where I might have a certain worldview, or I'm not in a point of the world that is relatable to, like, I don't relate to that.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean it's not valuable. Doesn't mean it's not valid. Doesn't mean it's not real.
Yeah. It doesn't mean it's not something you shouldn't think about.
Exactly that. And it's like I said the other day when I said about how I'd love British Sign Language to be in schools and rolled out.
Yeah.
There'll be people out there who would never think of that and be like, oh, it's nothing to do with me. I don't care.
Yeah.
What do you mean you don't care because it's nothing to do with you? Is that as simple as your worldview gets? If it doesn't directly reference you, as in, you're not the main character. And that's how we can sum up, basically. You're not the main character. There's just individuals out there, and children are the most pure version of that, I think.
Yeah, I like that. You're a side quest. You are. Do you look at me as a homogenous blob?
You're an NPC to me. You just sit there. I can kind of guess what you're going to say. And homogenous blob might be your new nickname.
Yeah,
actually.
yeah. HB for sure. HB, come over here, mate. What's that stand for again? No, don't worry about it.
Happy birthday. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Sure thing, homogenous.
Sorry, what? Sure thing, happy, yeah. Whatever.
Right, let's move on. That's a nice question.
I like that question. Thank you.
Next question. You can only bring one snack in for break time at school
Here we
every
go.
single day. What is it? I think we should spend 15 seconds max on this.
Okay.
I think we should count in and say the same snack.
Say the same
We're
snack.
going to say this. I
I
this
don't know if
isn't
we will.
planned.
Okay. All right. Go on. Let's do it.
Okay,
ready?
3, 2, 1. Whisper
Chocolate?
Golds.
Okay. Fair enough.
Come on,
Chocolate Whisper Golds.
Yeah, specifically
enough.
Whisper Golds, right? Specifically.
If I'm picky, if you ask me the next question, what's the best chocolate? It's Whisper Golds.
Can you
So,
can you just spend 20 to 30 seconds explaining why Whisper Golds are the best chocolate?
Genuinely, it's like an avatar. I'm going to
truly.
advert mode. Okay. Because they're chocolatey goodness filled with rich caramel inside, and the rich caramel just melts you.
Right. Okay. Next question. What would you be doing if you didn't become a teacher? Because I don't think it would be marketing. for you.
Selling Whisper Golds,
absolutely.
buddy. This homogenous blood will be selling Whisper Golds, bud.
What would you be doing if you weren't a
I
teacher?
wasn't a teacher.
This is genuinely the next question on the list.
Yeah, it's a good question. I think before I got into teaching, my answer would have been, I have no idea. Genuinely, I liked maths, I liked media, and I liked the idea of going down a media route. I mean, we're kind of bringing in elements of that now, aren't we, with the old podcast?
Can you imagine if we didn't? I hate media. I hate content creation, production.
Content creation sucks.
Yeah.
But I did a media degree, but I was at the, when you're 18, I'm sure some 18-year-olds are switched on. I was not. I did not know what I wanted to do. I had very recently found a love of media at about 17 and a half years old and thought, well, I better pick something. And did that. But I did really enjoy it. So I imagine I'd maybe have liked to have pursued a career in television or film or something like that, or even like radio.
Radio, maybe
doing
with
like
your
podcasts.
face.
Yeah. My face. Yeah, you'll be pleased to know, everyone, you can watch this podcast if you're listening and see this face.
Do you feel like you were really pushed into going to university then? Because
yes.
it sounds as if, realistically, you absolutely probably should not have gone to university at that point.
Yeah. I couldn't answer that more strongly. Yes, I was absolutely pushed by every single external factor possible, from school to family to life. Was like, yeah, go to university.
If you had your time again, would you?
Oh God, it's a hard question, isn't it? Because obviously you're only where you are now. But
you know,
if it was like an alternate universe, I can go back and I can see another version of my life. I would absolutely be encouraging them not to go to university and go and just just take another year or two to figure out what you actually want to do. Because now, years and years later, when I do feel like I understand myself a bit more, I think if I could go back in time with my brain now, I'd be very much pushing myself to do something to do with like tech, computer, like coding. I find, since we've obviously had a couple of businesses and we've worked with people who do all of that stuff for us, I always find it unbelievably fascinating to see how the back end of a website gets built, or just how a website gets built in general, all the coding that goes behind software. I just find it absolutely fascinating. I think I would probably have really, really enjoyed learning all that in my early 20s and then using that later on. So that's, somewhere there between media and sitting behind a screen doing tech, really closely linked things, somewhere in the middle, maybe. Don't know. What about you?
If I had to pick a job you do, it would be that. For context, everyone, Hayden put about 10,000 hours into playing RuneScape when he was growing up. He is a PC
Hang on a minute.
nerd. No, you've had your chance. I absolutely... I'd be a RuneScape elder. I don't know what it's called.
I'd be creating RuneScape 4. I'd be working on that game, thank you. Yeah.
So if I think about what I do, my passion is I actually really, really like being creative. Like, I love being creative.
Yeah.
There's nothing I get more of a buzz out of. And that's why I like sometimes planning lessons. I like the process of thinking, what's the end goal?
Yeah.
Where are we starting? And what's the best possible way to bring people along on that journey? And I like acting. I like being funny where possible. I like comedy. Yeah, I like it.
We're not good at everything we like, mate.
I like it. Like I love the side of social media. I'm running the Instagram and stuff.
Yeah.
I like making funny little memes and reels and stuff. And I'm not saying that would be my job, but it's turning into my job. Hopefully, I mean, the way we're going, it is good. It's going to start actually kind of spreading out a bit more, and hopefully it's something we can do more of because I enjoy it. But if I think going back, what I'd like to do, it is absolutely that. Like, we started a YouTube channel with my mates when we were like 15, 16, 17. We do little skits. We try and be funny again. Like, I love comedy. I love that kind of thing where you can have that creative edge and just be thinking, what's a clever way of doing this? Because I think intelligence and comedy are really closely linked. I think to be really funny, you usually have to be incredibly intelligent and clever
Think
as
of
well.
Simpsons.
Yeah, completely. Exactly. Simpsons. I used to grow up watching that stuff thinking this is the funniest. There's a joke every 10 seconds.
Yeah.
That's coherent and makes sense and is embedded in a story. I love that kind of stuff. So I think I'd still be, hopefully, if I wasn't a teacher, I think I'd be doing what I'm doing now, which is being more creative, putting out stuff on media, doing this podcast, filming these videos, doing these reels and internet stuff. I'd like to think I'd be doing that, but maybe like more meta or in a different, situation, not education necessarily, wouldn't have the background in it, but something where it's like, I would get so much enjoyment out of doing that.
It's funny to think, isn't it, how teaching is like low key, passively, exactly that.
Yeah.
Anyway, when you're in front of the kids,
Oh yeah,
like you really are going into performance mode, and and I do think it's linked to like how successful you are.
There's
in
a
the
reason we
classroom.
love that though. There's a reason we love teaching the children is
Yeah.
because we have that love of that
Yeah,
performance.
that's what I mean. Like, it's so funny how I didn't know that going into teaching, but it is funny how it did end up being hilariously really quite linked.
Yeah.
And I think I've been a better teacher because I've been able to kind of do my acting and animated side of, all the media stuff with the class because they like that. It's more enjoyable. It's like, it'd be like watching a YouTube video where someone's not remotely media trained. Obviously, it just wouldn't be as interesting because you're acting. You need to know how to do that job to make it entertaining.
Yeah.
And it just happens to be that's a huge part of teaching, entertaining kids.
And that links back to what you said earlier about your favorite part and what you've learned about the job. It's that making something enjoyable for the children is not easy to do. It's not an easy thing, and that is a skill set. And I think, I'd like to think that both of us would be applying that skill set to other areas.
This podcast's full of synergy, isn't it?
It's full of synergy. It's full of energy. There's a good energy in the gym. If you know what film that's from, please comment down below. There's a good energy in the gym.
I don't know.
Oh, what? What?
Good energy in the gym. It sounds like something from like Rocky or something.
Oh, okay. I'll reveal the answer. It's not Rocky.
Okay.
It's a comedy film. I'll reveal the answer next week.
Next week, yeah, right. As if you're remembering that. Come on. We've said any veteran listeners. There's been things in podcasts before where in the episode at the beginning we said, at the end we'll do this thing. Within 3 minutes we've completely forgotten and not revealed it.
Don't ruin the facade.
Just saying.
Of a well-organized, well-oiled
saying.
machine that we're just getting our screenshotted Instagram questions from.
Yeah. I see you've got more than one on the screen this time.
I'm like avidly scrolling up and down to like, where's the next question? I can't find it. Okay. I want you, I don't, the listener does, wants you to pick a time to go to bed for the rest of your life, but it must be the same time every single day, no matter whether you've worked, you're free, you're on holiday, whatever. One time that you go to bed every single day. And just for context, this person has put at the end, for example, 10 p.m. in case you weren't able to think of a time.
I tell you what, I was struggling, so they've saved me there to think of a time. That's actually, the more I think about it, a really hard question because obviously sometimes you want to stay up late. I had a wedding last week.
Thanks for this. Oh, this is insightful. Guys, you clicked on the right podcast.
No, because I was just thinking first, I was like, well, yeah, obviously.
Because sometimes you want to go to bed late and sometimes you want to go to bed early. So
kind of the point of the question there, I think.
Really be a question.
That's what makes it challenging, bud. I don't know where this voice is coming from. It's the second time I've done that for some reason.
Well, someone did ask us to do an accent the other
Oh,
day,
yeah.
so.
I said I did the rest in Australia, didn't I?
Yeah, please don't ever do that again.
I'm not going to do it. I wouldn't want to offend anybody.
Yeah.
I'm quite a late person anyway. I think I would pick 11:30. Every day, yeah, 11:30. Because I reckon I'm not far from that anyway. To be honest with you, to be honest.
True. Oh, yeah, I think I'd go late. I'd go late. Early nights just don't do it for me. I'd just be sat in bed wide awake for a bit. So I'd say 10:30.
I thought you were going to go 11:35. 11:31 maybe.
I want to be up exactly 1 minute after you.
Yeah, I like a late night.
Yeah, okay. This next question, maybe linked in with that if you want to have your late nights. I thought this was such an interesting question. Yeah, exactly. It's moving in and out. I think this is a fantastic question. It's something we've been pushed back on where we've said before, collective action, say no, don't do stuff.
Yeah.
And this kind of challenges me a lot. So I'm very interested to hear what you say. Thoughts on ways in which to gain vital experience for leadership roles in school and to stand out in interviews, e.g. going above and beyond, giving up time, doing more work. Is that a good or a bad thing? Because I look at that and I think, do you know what? If you want that role, you go above and beyond. You do more. You set yourself apart from your peers. But does that go against what we always say, which is, no, don't give up your life. Don't be a martyr. Is it martyrdom?
I don't know. I think there's a middle ground because I think a lot of the time I'm talking about don't do all this stuff for martyrdom. It's because like you literally don't have to and you're not even interested in climbing the ladder. That's kind of often where I'm thinking. But some people that I think if you want to climb the ladder, I don't think it's completely off the table to say, yeah, just drop in, do the extra thing. Make sure you attend this voluntary meeting. Make sure you do this other thing after school. Make sure you just check in with the head. I don't know what those things might be, but I do think there is a scope for doing that.
Well, okay, let's go back to the literal example we had the other week, which was your 24-year-old self who's willing to do everything and anything to get that maths role, and yourself now who wouldn't be. Is that okay? Fine, give it to that guy who's willing to go above and beyond. Is that enough? Should that be something we value and cherish and put on a pedestal of, wow, you're willing to sacrifice yourself? Because traditionally, yes, the answer is yes, you should. But does it just go against our literal core beliefs?
I think there's almost two questions. I feel like we're merging together a few things here. I want to try and clarify. So firstly, I think if your school is hiring people based on who does the most of extra voluntary stuff, that probably is already a hugely flawed system. In terms of you're trying to go up to a leadership position, realistically, what they should be doing is looking at your actual traits.
Sure.
As a if you've been working there for 10 years, there are some traits that you'll probably have that you literally that 1 year old that 1 year old that 1 year in 1 year old version of me.
That's a one way to save money in this school system. You got boss baby coming in.
Don't have to pay him.
It's my assistant head.
Can't even talk.
Sorry, he's just being fed.
Yeah,
give us a second.
But going back to it,
Whisper Golds, obviously.
Yeah, obviously,
on a Whisper Gold.
I was actually brought up on Whisper Golds. So that 1 year in version of me, there are some traits that I just wouldn't even have had. Like, yeah, I could have, I don't know, stayed behind, planned extra lessons or doing whatever it was.
Would that not
doing.
have been enough then?
I think in a good school, like when you're looking for someone to go into that managerial leadership position, a lot of the time it is genuinely because of their experience.
Yeah. Okay.
Across a broad range of things.
What about an equally experienced pair? And one person is genuinely doing in their role before they even get into leadership, they're genuinely doing like 15 hours extra a week of like, they go to all the discos, they run an after school club, they help out around the school loads and loads, which is they're all objectively lovely, nice, good things to do. Should that person be getting the nod ahead of someone with equal experience, equal traits, who simply doesn't go above and beyond and doesn't do extra? Because my gut instinct says, yeah, they should.
See, on paper, I don't think they should. Genuinely on paper, if it really is properly objectively down to who's got the skill set, it should just be looked at equally. But I understand why. Obviously, as a manager, you're obviously going to be thinking, well, this person's done way more of it. They're obviously more keen to.
So
do this
who
thing.
would you hire out of them two?
Depends.
Like, imagine now we're thinking, okay, yeah, we got our tutoring, we're looking at tutors. They have the exact same experience, the exact same vibe, the exact same level of ability and the trust that we would have for them to go away and teach and work with us. But one person says, oh, by the way, every week I'll be willing to go through and edit all the slides or any mistakes you make, or just send customers my way. I'll convert, I'll get them in. Come on, it's a no-brainer.
I think most people are going to pick that person, but it's rooted in the idea of, oh, yeah, because I can take advantage of it.
Yeah, completely.
So, like, I almost don't want to say it. I almost, to champion what we always say, I'd almost be like, no, I'll pick the other person who actually has some respect for boundaries. Because I tell you what, as a leader, if I'm really trying to foster an environment where people aren't being taken advantage of all the time and also raising the bar for everybody else all the time, which I think is something I'd value, I'd pick the person who is equally, if they genuinely are equal and that's the only difference, I'd probably pick the person who isn't willing to go home and do all that, because it's more likely that the person that does do all this extra stuff will then just start passing that down on everyone else. It would be trickling down to everybody else. So why aren't you doing all this stuff? I'm the leader now. I'm in charge now, didn't you know, actually? And I've been doing all this stuff. I've been marking more than you.
Yeah.
I've been doing way more of this stuff than you. So you guys should be as well. If I was a leader who actually cared, I wouldn't want that person doing that. From my point of view. So the reason I was kind of differentiating that is because I think in the real world, a lot of leaders don't really care. And I think a lot of leaders would just absolutely pick the one who's willing to do more for free. Why not?
Well, also budgets are tight. Not even just thinking sadistically, realistically.
Yeah, exactly. There's a whole range there from not caring to literally just being forced, having their hand forced. But yeah, I hope I made myself
No, you did.
There.
I think that was the perfect answer. I do agree with you, by the way. I'm just trying to push really to like the ends of this kind of hypothetical we've got here. But I think you're absolutely right. And at the end would be, my answer to that would be, great, but I'm not hiring you to do all this extra stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
I've given a job spec and a role. I'm hiring you to maybe teach for an hour or 2 hours a week. If you're giving me extra stuff, my answer to that would be, oh, fantastic. We already have someone who we pay to do this job.
Yeah.
Or
stop.
Brilliant. Thank you. We'll pay you for that work.
Yeah.
So at no point as a boss am I thinking, oh, rub my hands together, how much free work can I eke out of this person? I genuinely never am thinking that. And there'll be some people out there who go, that's a bad way to lead. You need to be getting the most out of your team at all times. Brilliant. That's great for you. It's just not remotely what I
You're
want to
not
do.
milking capitalism to its fullest, are you there, good sir?
It's called exploitation.
Jeff Bezos would not be very proud of that level of thinking, would you? Would he?
Yeah, but you know that's my point. And you know what? I think incentive's good. I think working hard is good.
Yeah.
I think that's what people sometimes get wrong with you and I, because we obviously are the people who sit here and say, do your job, go home. You've got a life, you know, family's important. Your work doesn't have to be the be all and end all, especially if you're not literally the owner or the boss of a company, etc. You do your work, you go home and enjoy your life. But, you know, we work extremely hard, you and I. Like, I don't want to ever come across hypocritical or people thinking, oh, these lazy lads just doing that and going home. No, we worked full time and did a tutoring company on the side. All we did was work for a long time because we wanted to at that point. This is the thing I'm going to say just to kind of finish this point off. It is about choice for the individual at that level. You know, you do your job, you fulfill your contract, you want to choose to do more. It is a good, nice thing. But when it comes to that being used against someone for a job,
that's it.
And kind of exploiting and going above and beyond a job role, that's where I'd be like, no, do you know what? You should be compensated for what you're doing. And if you're choosing not to be, then okay, that's your choice. But if from the top down, you're creating a role where you're then choosing someone based on how much free work you can get out of them, that doesn't sit right with me because they are not getting something out of it. There's no incentive for them to do that other than beating the other person in the market.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And it really does. It affects the whole culture of the school. So yeah, I think from top down, think about what the passive effects might be. You might, because it might just be there's a win here. I'm getting free work, but there's more to it. The culture of the school might change, and you might not want that. So yeah, consider it.
All right, cool. Next question, really important. Snog, marry, avoid. Bread, pasta, rice.
Classic, the classic. You're going to answer this one first because I'm thinking about it. This is deep. This is deeper than all the previous questions.
Okay, so snog. Oh, I'd snog a bit of bread. I'd snog a bit of bread. Bread can be unreal. Like, there's so many different types of bread. Like, the way it comes, it tastes different. Like, there's just so much variety, and good quality bread is unreal. So I would snog bread. I'd marry pasta because, like, come on, pasta. It's like a staple. Wow. How many really nice dishes have pasta? I unfortunately avoid rice. But the only, you know, I love dishes with rice, but I do think it's the one thing where you can easily take it away and still maintain a quality meal and replace it with, for example, bread. Imagine being an Indian takeaway. But oh no, okay,
true.
Right, bread or rice? Hold the rice. Do you know what? I'll get a lovely garlic naan, dipping in my madras. I think it'd be amazing.
That is such a good point, and has almost slightly altered my answer.
Oh no! Why do you want me to go first? Yeah, well, you go first. You go first. Yeah. What do you think? What you said?
No, because I'll tell you what, you can make you cry. The definite one for me is I'm killing pasta.
You're killing pasta?
I'm killing pasta. Just see you later. Get in the bin. It's just boring, isn't it? It's boring.
One way to dip retention and lose our followers.
Yeah, see your pasta and see everybody else. Yeah, but with bread and rice.
You don't like pasta. We don't want you here. Oh, I do. He doesn't.
I'm snogging rice. I'm snogging rice.
What?
I'll tell you that.
What?
And I'm kissing. No, I'm not snogging rice and kissing bread. I'm marrying bread.
I'm snogging rice. I'm kissing bread. Now, and I'm giving pasta a massage.
I switched those two because I was like, oh god, your Indian takeaway.
Oh, so what's your
answer is so good because I was gonna swap around bread and rice and have rice as the marry. But actually, I'd absolutely pick a naan bread over a side of rice every single time.
Yeah, there you go.
Bread's just more versatile.
That's the thing. It comes in so many different forms.
What do you have for lunch, Dylan? If you come around my house and I'm providing.
Oh my god, no. Honestly.
Every
right,
time.
Listeners listening to this, right?
What do we have?
Hey, just like, should we get some lunch? And my heart sinks. Like, I'm not even joking because I know what that means. It doesn't mean some delicious lunch that we've put together. It means a shop bought Tesco baguette.
Oh, shop bought Tesco baguette
with some kind of processed meat of some sort. Like some
ignore the meat. You had me at the bread, mate. You had me at baguette. And it depends which Tesco you go to because some of them have a proper fresh bakery inside. The bigger Tesco's tend to have a bakery. You get really nice baguettes. Sorry, I'm still talking. The smaller ones tend to buy in their bread because they don't have a proper bakery, so they buy it in half done and they just cook it not as nice. So yeah, definitely recommend go to your local Tesco Extra, get yourself some Whisper Golds, creamy, lovely chocolate, and get yourself a lovely fresh baguette as well whilst you're there.
Are we saying Tesco Extra Broadstairs if anyone wants the quality? Is that where you get your baguettes
Specifically
from?
that one.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
All right. No. If anyone's in the market for a lovely baguette, you know where to come. Right. This question. Back to reality, Hayden. Back to seriousness. Been off sick, come back, and a bunch of staff are bitter because they had to do cover for you. What do you do?
Nah. Bitter at them? Like, are they bitter at this person?
Yeah, bitter.
Not
just bitter. Bitter thing. I had to bloody sort that. Okay. Oh, bro.
I think it's not cool. There's two sides to this. If you're in a school that doesn't have a particularly good policy on this, and it genuinely, the burden falls on staff where it really shouldn't, and it's the fault of the SLT, not you being off sick,
right? Then
I can see why they are bitter in general at the situation, because it's like, it probably shouldn't be happening if a bunch of extra workload has fallen on someone else when it really shouldn't be.
Yeah.
But even in that situation, I don't think I'd ever make it clear that I wouldn't want the person who was literally sick to feel like I was insinuating that it's your fault I've done this. Well, yeah, I know it's your fault. That's generally what I don't choose to be sick, in all honesty.
Right.
Like, I wouldn't expect to come to work and have people being annoyed at me for being sick. That's just horrible.
I'd expect them to be annoyed if I came in ill.
Yeah.
If I said, I'm really sick and ill, but I came in anyway because I'm a trooper. No, stay off. I don't want to be ill.
Yeah.
Don't make me ill because you can't be asked to, call up someone and say, I'm ill today, by the way. No, stay off sick. It's good to stay off if you're sick, especially if you work in a school.
That's another martyr trait, isn't it?
Yeah,
we talk about workload a lot. Get the person. I'm in anyway.
I've just come in today. I got 3 hours sleep and I'm sweating and I thought, I just can't let the kids down. You're letting the kids down because you're going to give them the flu. That's letting the kids down, mate.
And me the flu.
Yeah, exactly.
And then there's another class.
And I am going to say off if I've got the flu. And then you'll be covering me.
And I'll be letting you down big time. And you'll be bitter at me. Yeah, maybe this guy's right. Yeah, they should be bitter.
No, this guy isn't saying they should be bitter.
I know, I'm joking. Like, I'm saying he's saying they are bitter,
poor
right?
bloke.
Yeah, I was being silly, Dylan. I don't really think so.
Listen, I don't think this is the podcast for being silly.
It's a very serious podcast.
This whole way through.
Yeah, I don't know. Any extra thoughts on that? I feel like we're the same.
Yeah, completely. It's ridiculous. Don't be bitter at the person for being sick. I will never, ever, ever be bitter at the person for being sick.
Yeah.
It's the same thing when we had someone write in to say their school gives attendance awards, not just to the kids, which I think is insane, but to the actual teachers too in assembly. Well done for 100%. Get in the bin. I'm an adult. Get over it. I'm interested in what you said though about policy for cover, etc. And you were like, well, if you have a bad cover policy, then it's the SLT's fault, and that's why they're bitter. What does a good cover policy look like? Like, how do you deal with someone being off sick then, other than, well, someone does just have to print the stuff? Like, the amount of times one of my colleagues has been sick in school, and I'm like, I don't even think about it, and I'm not bitter about it. But you think, I've got to print this off for them because otherwise that class won't have anything to do today. And I don't expect the person covering to do it because they're more than likely HLTA getting paid a pittance just to cover in the first place. And I'm happy to do that.
I mean, there's tiers to this. The worst version of this is there just isn't even a proper policy. That does happen. I've heard loads of schools where it's like, unless someone just honestly just thinks to themselves in the team, I better print this then because no one else seems to be doing it. That's the worst one. That happens a lot. And someone else just randomly picks up the workload and SLT will just be like, oh yeah, someone will do it. There's the second version where the policy is just, it exists, but it's not very good. And the policy will be like, someone in your team, they have to meet together and decide who's printing it and sorting it all out. I'm like, okay, maybe don't do that. What I think the policy should be is, firstly, obviously SLT need to sort cover. And like you said, I mean, if you've got a system in your school where there is a HLTA or another spare teacher or whatever that can do the cover, that's up to your school. But generally, they need to sort out the cover, even if that includes hiring someone in. And then I think the SLT is probably part of your role to be like, and I will, as the line manager, be in charge of just printing those resources and getting them ready and leaving them in the room. I don't think that should fall on another teacher or a TA. I think that absolutely falls on the line manager or whoever the SLT is to go ahead and do that and print the things off and make sure the lesson is resourced for whoever is covering it.
What if there's no lesson because they're off sick? It's maybe the second, third, fourth day. They obviously but they're not planning because they're sick, so they can't plan either. Yeah,
true. If it's more than a one-form entry school, I think you just have to borrow plans from the subsequent side teacher. If it's a school that's been established for more than a year, I think you just need to dip back into last year's plans and just see what was done. There's going to be lots of layers, I think, here where you're not actually going to be left completely short. End of the day, if you are left completely short, there's a one-form entry school. They haven't, a lot of schools say you need to submit your plan in a little bit early anyway. if they haven't done any of that, then honestly, at that point, it is the problem. It's what I'm trying to say is it's the problem of the SLT. The policy, maybe the policy needs to be even better then, and have a contingency plan for this exact situation. If you're in a school like that, they should have maybe already thought about that.
Lesson.
Yeah, if this happens in our school where we're really vulnerable to this because we're one form and it's brand new and there's no previous planning, then this is what we do. We have this 2 weeks of planning that works for each one block for each year group, and we just pick that up, like you said, off the shelf, and we use that in an absolute emergency situation. Yeah. Basically, what I'm trying to say is a good school will have a policy and contingency for all of these things that doesn't need to be a massive burden on other teachers.
Completely. Sometimes I feel like, because we get asked these questions and stuff now, we're not always going to have a fully fleshed out, like, off the shelf, this is exactly what every school in the world should do. But you're right. Like the answer to that question is like, if your school is vulnerable to that, you've got to have some proactiveness in thinking, not just, Shelley will sort it.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, she always sorts it.
Shelley. So just, I don't want to ignore this person completely. What is your actual advice to this person? They've come in, and people are acting bitter. What would you say to a person in that situation?
Genuinely, I would first of all, if I wanted to actually talk to them about it, and like they were my friends, and I'd be like, I'd first of all explain how I've been sick and why it's sensible to stay off, and then I'd explain how I also don't think it should be your responsibility to have done all this, and I think I'm bitter for you. I'm also bitter for you because I see why you're bitter, because I wouldn't want to be doing that either. That's crazy. Let's try and solve this by going to our line manager, going to our SLT, trying to get a situation where this doesn't happen again. I wouldn't just dismiss their feelings. I'd be like, do you know what? I get why, because I'd probably feel the same, but it's not my fault. And if they still wanted to blame me at that point, I'd be like, I can't do anything. Fine.
Yeah, go away. Have you ever done work? You personally?
Yeah, I've done work.
I don't know. I'm not sure about that. Have you ever done work when you were ill, like when sick in teaching? Because even though you knew I don't have to do this because I'm sick, but you're doing it anyway whilst you're at home, whilst you're off, because you were like, you felt bad, or for whatever made you do it. Or have you always been like, no, I'm sick, I'm not doing anything?
Through no, like, I don't want praise or anything for what I'm about to say, but I've not really had much time off school in my time of teaching up 9-10 years. I probably had, like, in terms of actual sick days where I was like, I phoned in, I said I can't come in, probably 4.
Yeah, you don't get sick, to be fair.
I just don't. Again, I'm not saying, oh, aren't I great because of
I'm that martyr teacher.
No, not at all. I just don't get sick. I just don't get ill. I don't have sick days really. And when I do have sick days, it is usually because I am physically unable to even like stand and deliver a lesson in front of the class, or it's something where I then didn't do work because I by definition couldn't, because I wasn't in school. So I didn't drag my laptop out. I'd be like, oh god, I've got to get this. The most I did, and I think this was completely reasonable, was I would just send an email with the slides and stuff for that day. Like I'd just be like, well, this already exists. I've put the work in already. Here's the day of lessons, obviously, and here's a paragraph explaining to who I know is my HLTA, who gets paid nothing to do this, who I really like and is my friend. I will obviously just sit and type out the instructions for today. So that's the most I've ever done. I've never thought to myself, oh gosh, it's 10:30 and I'm on the company dollar and I've got to be doing something. But I've never ever thought if I'm sick, I'm sick. No,
that's probably a good thing.
What about you?
Yeah, I have, to be fair. Yeah,
You are a martyr, to be fair.
I'm a complete martyr. Yeah, but the only example I can think of was during assessment week, and assessment weeks are notoriously come with tons of marking. And I was like, how can I felt so bad at the idea again, because it's just going to be your mate, like who's a TA who's coming in to do all this. Like we didn't have a cover teacher in for this. I was like, I can't leave them with like 5 hours of test marking. We did a reading comprehension and a GPS test today, and I'm off. So
whoopsie.
So luckily someone who, sorry mate. Oh no, it happens every single assessment week.
I just get the flu on June the 2nd every single year. So
I got someone to drop it off to me after school, and I sat there despite being ill and not feeling well. I sat there marking tests for hours.
Also, like, if that was like a job where it's very different to stood delivering lessons all day. Like the threshold for what sickness means I can't fulfill that role is like, it's much easier for me to kind of get there. Whereas I can just mark tests. Like I can be groggy and not pass on an illness, but still mark tests and do that kind of thing. So I do think there's a difference. But I would say to anyone, if they're ill, don't worry about it.
Agreed.
Let's finish on this question. I think this is a really nice one to end on, to think about. If you had to scrap one subject entirely from the curriculum, which one would it be? So one subject goes, bosh, gone, don't teach it at all, ever. What would you go for?
Do you want me to pretend there's not a really obvious one? We're both thinking
Are
immediately.
you thinking of modern foreign language?
Modern foreign language.
In primary school.
In primary school.
Yeah.
We've talked about it before. I'm not even going to go too much into it, but I would. Modern foreign languages is at the bottom of my list in terms of importance of subjects at primary school specifically.
At primary school, sure.
So ignoring, let's make this question harder. You can't pick modern foreign languages, otherwise this question's just done, isn't it? So let's pick. You have to pick another subject because I think the reason it's harder is because that's such an obvious one.
Yeah,
it's harder to justify. I think. Let's say you picked history.
Yeah,
obviously
sure.
you wouldn't, Mr. History degree.
No. Well, we just had a great chat with Mr. Greg Jenner. I'm not going to pick in history anytime soon.
Absolutely not. But
I know what I'd pick.
Okay, you go first then, because I'm still thinking.
I'd pick geography. And my reasoning for picking geography is not because I dislike geography or think it's unimportant, but much like the chat, guys, go and listen to that chat with Greg Jenner earlier this week, the historian from Horrible Histories. Such a nice guy, such a good chat.
Yeah,
but we kind of touched on this a bit, which was I feel like if you got rid of geography, you can overlap it with so much other subjects that you already teach.
That's a good point.
Like for example, history and geography are like embedded in each other. Like when you think about teaching a history lesson, how many times do you get a map up? Map up. I've gone northern. Gone back to my northern roots. How many times do you get a map up? And you like look at the movement of people or the migration or the invasion, and it's so entrenched in it that I think the important parts of geography that kind of I would think primary school children should know. I feel like it can be embedded in other subjects or can just be learned in year 7, 8, and 9. Like for example, the upper course, middle course, lower course of a river and how a delta is formed and all those different key vocabulary words that every single primary school child will learn in geography for a river.
Yeah.
Throughout their time in primary school. I'm okay with children not knowing that at the end of primary school unless they have a love and a desire for it. I'm okay with that. I don't mind them not understanding how a riverbed is formed. Okay, I'm okay with that. Whereas history, I think there are more meta skills that you take out of science, you take out of history.
Yeah.
Music's creative. I wouldn't get rid of ICT for obvious reasons. You need to be literate in the world they're in. I think you can kind of think of more reasons for the other subjects where geography is like, well, wait till year 7. If I had to pick one.
Yeah,
I wouldn't get rid of it, by the way, but if I had to pick one.
I think it's a really good answer. I was obviously also thinking geography. So then I started... I genuinely, because for similar sort of reasons, I was like, I think if I had to put them in a hierarchy, I think even though I think geography is important, the point of this question is it's hard and you have to pick one.
Yeah.
I think my next one after that, just to make it a bit more interesting, if geography's out of the way now, you've got rid of that one.
You can't get rid of this. You can't get rid of that. We just leave maths at the end.
Yeah.
And you're like, you say, we'll get a soundbite of you going, I'd get rid of maths. And I just click that. I click that, put it out there.
Do the whole lot. Well, luckily I'm going to say, no, I'm not going to say maths.
No.
But I think the next one after that, and this is going to sound really hypocritical, and this is why I want to say it, because I want you to challenge me on it. I think I'd pick music.
No.
Yeah, I think I would, even though I'm like a huge advocate of creative arts in primary school, because I think the current state of music, like in primary schools, in terms of the curriculum and generally what primary schools have access to.
Is that what you're saying?
No, in this situation, we have to pick. We just have to pick one.
Oh,
I wouldn't really get rid. Just to be very clear, I do not want to actually get rid of music. But if I have to pick one, and geography and modern foreign languages are not options, I think the next one on my list, in terms of not importance, but just the whole view of this, is music. I just don't. I think if there was a lot more funding in schools for music and the curriculum was better, I think maybe it'd go higher up the list. But at the moment, in its current state, I'd be like, yeah, leave music till secondary school if I have to pick one more. Because I don't think I'd pick... I was thinking all the other subjects. I was like, no, I think I can justify the other ones just a little bit more. Yeah. The music at that point.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'd be gutted to see it go. But after geography and modern foreign languages. And we keep going, obviously, in our ideal world. And eventually we're just left with English and maths.
And I think that's what the governments of the control... And,
they would love that.
That's great, just that. Yeah. Nothing remotely enriching.
No.
So yeah, we don't know about rivers and we also don't know how to play the glockenspiel.
Yep.
But it's okay because you can tell me what D is in Roman numerals. So,
but fine. You can't play a D on a recorder. So
so out of interest, just to really, really round this off, obviously we're talking about taking away a whole subject, which is insane. Like there are obviously so many pros to each subject and why we'd want them.
Yeah, of course.
That question felt like the opposite in terms of what do we lose less of if we take it out.
Yeah.
For example, what I'm getting at here is I would sooner take some things out of the maths and English curriculum, which I obviously wouldn't take maths and English out of the curriculum altogether. That's insane. But I would sooner take out quite a big chunk of those curriculums before I took out music as a whole.
That's true.
So that's the point I want to get across here. Like, it's tricky when you're thinking, okay, I've got to take an entire subject out. You're going to be taking out lots of good stuff, but that's the question. Obviously.
Exactly, that's what makes it hard.
But like, I don't think there's a single subject that I wouldn't take some things out of before picking one whole subject to get out.
Yeah, 100%.
So like for if the option was take out the whole of music or take out a part of history or a part of science or a part of maths, I would be taking out the part of the other thing immediately. That would be obvious to me.
That makes a lot of sense. Just to go to the other end of this, what's the final thing off your list? We're going through, we're whittling away everything. What's the last subject left on your list? Because by definition, therefore, what's the most important? Not important, but what's the last thing you'd get rid of? It's obviously going to be one of the core subjects.
So it's English by far, because English is embedded in everything. If you can't read. Yeah. So and again, if you went one step further, it'd be reading.
Oh yeah, you could cull down English even more.
So if you're going to go down to like what's the most important thing in the world, it is English.
And if you went one step further, no one's going to school. So
in fact, it doesn't exist anymore. Yeah, I'd say reading. I'd say reading is the ultimate thing that unlocks so much for people, so much understanding of the world, so much ability, and then lots of other skills come from that, obviously. Yeah. But like fundamentally, you have to be able to read and write and be literate. Literacy. There you go. That's what it is. Literacy. Literally was called literacy. Literally was called literacy. Literally. I'd go for literacy would be the one.
It's a fun thought experiment, really, isn't it? Because then after that, you guys can think as well. Like you can then think. Well, clearly, I think we probably all agree on that exact line of thinking. Have a look at your school. How much on a pedestal is it? How balanced is your curriculum? Is reading at the heart of everything? Is it not? Do you have loads of built-in time for reading for pleasure as well as learning reading comprehension skills and passing a test?
And are you catering to children who don't enjoy reading? I don't like it when we're like, reading for pleasure. Of course it's important, but you need, okay, let's go even one step further back to the matter of the function of school. I think we have to be serving every child. And I don't think the school system right now serves remotely near every child. It serves a subset of children very well. Another subset of children get on, but it's not suitable for them really. And there's another subset where it's completely the wrong environment for the kids. So like if we're stripping it back even more about the function of school and schooling in general, I don't think it's easy. And I don't think there's an easy option how to solve this, but let's not pretend that it's not completely broken and not a system that works for most kids really.
Wow. What a question.
Yeah.
What a question.
Unlocked, I know.
Yeah, that was when you started it, I was like, we'll answer this in like 20 seconds. Yeah, I'd get rid of this subject because of this. I'll get rid of this one. Ha ha ha, move on.
No, not in this. Not in the Teach, Sleep, Repeat questions and answers where we listen and we answer your questions. Guys, go and follow us on Instagram at Teach, Sleep, Repeat Podcast. Follow us on TikTok at Teach, Sleep, Repeat Podcast because that's where we're going to be harvesting all of our questions from now on. Guys, that's the end of this episode. Hayden, one little thing to sign off maybe?
A lion never skips leg day, and neither should you. See you next week.
Bye, guys.